Hello, welcome to day 3. Um, Magical day, lucky number 3. I think I'm having enough fun with this that I'm gonna stick to it. Definitely for the amount of time in the quarantine, and definitely after the quarantine, but maybe just with less frequency. But yeah, this has been fun. I know it's only been 3 days, but it feels longer because a lot more than I expected goes into it. But I've enjoyed it, despite the frustrations and unexpected technical difficulties. It has been fun, and today was definitely the best day so far. But I'll speak more about that later. But for now, I just wanted to follow along with you guys in the process. As you can see, I got the drawing done before I started recording because the batteries I ordered yesterday aren't going to come until Monday. And I figured that the drawing phase was not boring, but not as interesting as the painting part for me, and I'm guessing for most. So yeah, just getting right into the painting. So you can see here that I'm doing, like I said, the first day, just establishing what will be the darkest darks, and putting them down in mass shapes around the composition, and some with transparency, which will help, you'll see later. And this painting in particular, the transparency and that wash of quinacridone red in the background really helps with a glow that I will need later in the painting. And so I did plan a little bit for that for the future, and I would leave some areas like the trees that are going to be highlighted in red. I left them blank for the majority of the painting until in the end I just went over them with a very thin down layer of, I think it was actually cadmium red light. Yes. And yeah, I guess at this point most of the shadows are in, and so now it's gonna be like some lights. Since it is a nocturne, there's not gonna be too many light shapes. As a matter of fact, they're pretty insignificant, but they make the whole piece. I like that a lot about nocturnes. And also, I wanted to mention, thank you so much, Crystal, for sending me this reference. I love it. It might be the case that I was more prepared today and more ready to take confidently on a painting and more sure of myself, but this reference definitely helped. I was super excited about it, and it just, as soon as you sent it to me, I knew I was going to paint it today. Like, there was no doubt about it. I was so excited, and I really had such a good time painting it till the very end. There was no frustration today, really, and I think that had a lot to do with awesome reference. So, thank you. But yeah, now I'm going to start putting in the sky, which, aside from the some lights that are on the decks of the houses on the right, some like porch lights, the sky is the brightest part, and I actually made it too bright there, but it's fine. Oil paint is very forgiving, and so usually I'll just throw an approximate color down, and if it's too bright, too warm, too cold, too dark, whatever the case may be, you can adjust it easily. It's no biggie. It's so fun. Like, I feel like that's the way I figure out anything. Just like throw an approximate solution and fine tune. Once you're there, it works out. Works out so far. But yeah, the sky was cool because it was a hazy night, and cameras are so weird when they take pictures. Like, they'll pick up these sickly yellow and green glows from light sources that don't seem so drastically warm, but I guess the camera doesn't know what else to do really. Like, it's never the case that the camera shows what we see with the eye. And I used to try to paint in a way that really just represented what we see with our eyes, but not really the case anymore. I think I began to feel limited by that, and now it's just a matter of painting how it feels to be in a scene. For example, there is no black in this painting. The darkest shadow, the darkest value is like a hazy purple, a more like a bluish purple. What would you call that? Indigo, maybe. Point being, haziness or a narrower value range or heightened shadow value gives the impression of atmosphere, and it just surrounds you when you're outside, when you're anywhere really. Like, air just surrounds you, and it's pretty lightweight. Obviously air is lightweight, but and we're conditioned to it, so we don't feel it so much, but it does have an effect on us. And no matter like how small the effects might be, air does weigh on us. We feel the atmosphere around us. We feel it a little more if like a little like gust of wind comes by, but when atmosphere is just like still wind. You get me? On a foggy night, it's just like a land cloud sitting around you. You're surrounded by a cloud on a foggy night. And so what happens, the more dense that the air is, the less it is likely, the less black, the less dark things will be. Everything will be brought up into a narrower value range. For the most part, the highlights will be brought down a little bit, and the shadows will be brought up, and you get this really awesome narrow value range to work in. And some shadows, it makes it easier to make some shadow shapes they blend into other shadow shapes, so shapes kind of get lost into each other, and it gives you like little places to wander around in the painting. And that's how it feels at night, like you look out into the distance if you're taking a walk at night, and you might see forms. Like, our mind is so quick to create things for us to see so that we can identify something, but it's just like dancing figures, dancing like values and colors and shifts in the shadow. And that feeling seems to me to be essential for what it feels like to be in this scene. Obviously, Crystal sent me this picture from Canada. I was not in this scene, but I've been outdoors at night enough, and I've like observed atmosphere enough that I can kind of like put this all together and chase that feeling. Something I had to kind of battle with in this painting was that because I brought the shadows up so much, and that they're so far away from being the darkest value, from being zero, from being black, that the intensity that I was gonna look for in these branches that are glowing red in this tree, because there is a light, like probably like some type of holiday light, illuminating these trees in a really vibrant red light. I knew that I was risking not being able to get that vibrance for the branches, because obviously if you have straight like pure black next to a bright red, that red is gonna seem really bright. But imagine the closer that you bring that black, like you lighten it up, the contrast is not gonna be so drastic, and that vibrance might get lost. So that's why I was really depending on the transparency. It's not exactly glazing, but it's as close to glazing as I'll get, because I don't I can't be bothered to wait for a painting to dry. Maybe someday, but not today. But I think it worked. It was still, the shadows were still a dark enough value that they provided enough contrast for the branches to glow in the way that I felt they should. Additionally, if you find yourself in a situation where the contrast is too narrow and it's not giving you the vibrance that you're looking for in whatever situation you may be painting, you could go for a hue contrast. So let's say that in this painting the value didn't work out, that the shadows were too light and they weren't gonna do enough for me for the red to pop enough. Then I would have made all the shadows like green. I would have really like driven up the chroma in the shadows even more so and made it green. It's because green is the complement of red, and to have all that dark green, like a nice heavy green dancing all around that tree, would be like my last ditch effort to make that red pop. I kind of did that a little bit. I didn't focus on it too much because, like I said, the value didn't give me an issue. But there is some like greenish tones in the fog in the haze of the sky. So that probably helped me out a little bit. And if not, there is, in the end, there's gonna be a lot of street lights and a lot of a few little like specular highlights coming off of the cars in the foreground. And they'll be green. They'll be the highlight won't be straight white. It'll be tinted with yellow and blue, and it'll be like a really energetic, like a somewhat radioactive green. So if you looked at the painting, you wouldn't necessarily say, oh, look, there's green in that painting. But being that the highlights and the specular, like the little dots of light spread throughout the painting, are tinted yellow, green, that provides enough contrast and like intensity, tension between the red and the green and the composition. And then like the red is like coming in from the upper left, and the red will be and the green will be driving up from the lower right. I think it's a nice tension that it builds. And yeah, that was the process for choosing the colors, and it turned out fun. I had a lot of fun. I've only recently really started delving into nocturnes, and I really love the ambiguity that they afford me. You know, daytime landscapes, you have to either admit that you're being lazy or just decide that you're not going to describe all the forms that you see. It makes for less ambiguity. Of course, you can like disguise things in atmosphere as you do, but you know, like in nighttime, obviously there's so much more you can hide in the shadows, and so much more that you can suggest with just little hints of form here and there, and it's lovely. Like, ambiguity in a painting is amazing. Imagine that. Imagine being proposed to paint something as to have it not be there. It's a fun challenge. It's a fun game. And that's all that painting has really felt like to me lately. A little challenge, a little game. Like, I'm given a reference and I'm gonna have to try to make it work, and maybe I'll face some challenges I haven't come across before in painting. And that's how we learn. And we go on tomorrow to the next painting. And thank you guys so much for joining me once again. This was really fun, and I hope you guys enjoy it too. If anyone's been watching since the first day, which I know it's only been 3 days, but any feedback helps, and I'll take it. I want to make this channel really fun and I want to do different things, and I want to have a community aspect where I interact with you guys very openly, and that's how we'll go forward. So yeah, stay safe, have a good night, and see you tomorrow.